2 words, guys. That's all it took. 2 words that came out of Erika Kirk's mouth on this leaked video, and if you know what it means, I mean, really know what it means, it changes everything. Stay with me because I'm gonna show you something that you once you see it, you literally cannot unsee it. So there's this leaked video from, ASU chapter meeting. Erika Kirk, widow of Charlie Kirk, and now running operations inside Turning Point USA. She's on this tape, and she's scolding the chapter, not very gently. So she's very upset, and she's directing them. It seems like she's running something. But here's the moment that stood out to me. You know, Candace Owens, in her book club, she talks about the book Chaos. That was actually her first book in the book club. And it talks about the CIA in the 60s. And once you read that book, you know, there's so many things that stand out after you read that book that are just certain phrases that you don't usually say in normal conversation. So when she said program, kind of really stood out to me like that doesn't seem like what does that mean? So anyways, her direct quote was, "We have some really good people that could be on campus to counter program that." So have a listen here to the actual tape.
That really pissed me off, especially because we have some really good people that could be on campus to counter program that. Yeah, no, to answer your question, my husband isn't here to say whether or not we should be at war with Iran. I would love for him to be here right now to tell us if we should or should not. I would love it. I miss his voice more than anyone in this world. And, you know, it's frustrating when you have people speaking for him. I have a sentiment for that. But thank the good Lord that we have a bunch of his videos that we can look back on. And it's like chapters like this, I have to commend you.
So did you catch that? Most people heard that and thought, yeah, that sounds normal. It sounds like she's scheduling something or she wants to put an event on the books or just casual conversation. But oh, no, no, that is not what that phrase means, not where it comes from, not how it's used professionally. And here's where this gets deeply uncomfortable. Have you ever heard someone in a casual company meeting use the words counter program in a sentence? And not to counter protests, not counter schedule, not we should have our own event. Counter programming is the key words here. That's a very specific phrase from a very specific world. So let's talk about what it actually means. I had to look this up. Like I said, it was giving me the chaos vibe. So I thought, this is odd. So what does this all mean? And on top of everything else that's going on with TPUSA and the whole Charlie Kirk investigation, it just seemed very off. So in the military and intelligence doctrine, and this is documented, this is not a conspiracy, counter programming or counter messaging is a tactical discipline. It's the deliberate deployment of assets, people, media, messages, all that. What the goal is to neutralize an opposing narrative in real time. So think about that. It's not about winning an argument, it's about controlling the information environment. It's literally controlling, it's running interference. It's blocking the truth from spreading. So you're overriding what people see and hear, almost like gaslighting, which I feel like we're getting gaslit in this whole thing from the whole FBI slop. It does feel like gaslighting. So you have the US Army, and it calls it information operations. The CIA has an entire department dedicated to this. And Erika Kirk used that phrase casually, naturally, like she said it like 100 times. That's not normal. That is a tell. And once you see that pattern, you just can't stop seeing it. She was also in a video with the CIA, which I thought was also very odd. Here, so you don't just happen to come upon, you know, a job where you're just talking in the CIA, the head of the CIA is there and you're just doing a little segment on it. So the ties run deeper than I think that we all realize. And then you have Fort Huachuca, you know, because that's where the context, it really, really matters in this situation. So where does Erika Kirk come from? And we already know that she's been reported that Erika Kirk and her mother, Lori Frantzve, have significant ties to Fort Huachuca in Arizona. Now, some of you are saying, well, who cares? It's a military base. Everybody has family ties to military. Who really cares? But here's what the difference is. Fort Huachuca is not just a base. It is the home of the United States Army Intelligence Center. It is the primary training facility for every single U.S. military intelligence officer. They do electronic warfare. They do psyops. They do all that shit. All of it in Fort Huachuca. And that's where the intelligent operators go. So you don't just accidentally stumble into this deep, repeated connections with Fort Huachuca. Those connections are built deliberately over time with purpose. So we have the language and we have the military intelligence geography, but wait, because it goes even deeper inside TPUSA itself. And this part is where it gets batshit crazy. So stay with me here because this next part is documented history. Like I said, this is not a conspiracy theory. This is documented history. So Turning Point USA had a man on its advisory board. His name is General Paul E. Vallely. General Vallely didn't just advise TPUSA. He also co-authored one of the most controversial psychological operations in military history. So it's called Mind War. This is the book here. And here's where it gets even darker. His co-author on this PSYOPs manual, a man named Michael Aquino, former military intelligence officer, and also the founder of a satanic cult organization called the Temple of Set. I swear to God, you can't make this shit up. It's absolutely crazy. So, like I said, let me say that again. So, the man who wrote the textbook on modern psychology warfare, one of them sat on the TPUSA advisory board, and the other openly founded a satanic cult. And the manual, they literally wrote that manual together. Pull that manual back up again. There's both names are on this manual. So it literally details how to weaponize information, how to shape mass consciousness, and how to target populations psychologically. So now you have to ask yourself, was the connection between TPUSA and psychological warfare, is this just accidental? Or was it foundational? There was a Reddit feed that also brought it to my attention too. This Reddit feed, and it's Turning Point USA, Paul Valley, and Mind War are the faith events using modern PSYOPs tactics. I don't know, but they're certainly using the verbiage 100%. They are. So I don't know. We all have to come up with our own conclusions. We got to put it out there, and then everybody's got to connect their own dots. But it is very interesting. So now let's talk about Candace Owens and what she dropped the other day, because Candace has been one of the few people willing to dig publicly into what's happening with Charlie Kirk's legacy and the people around it. And what she revealed is amazing. I was shocked. So on September 10th, that day matters because that's the date that Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Erika Kirk was allegedly staging at an aviation building. So no visible signage, no public address, no listed company name. What that building had was everything intelligence front companies typically have. They have anonymity, they have aviation access, non-disclosure. Candace flagged this. She called it exactly what it looks like. And the response from Erika's camp, silence or attacks on Candace. So anybody that says anything, they're just attacking people personally. There's not one single substantive answer about what that building was. And again, I've watched enough true crime investigations to realize when someone answers a question with a personal attack instead of an answer, that pretty much gives you your answer, pretty much sums it up. And then you have Kent. And now this is the piece that I think deserves the most attention out of all of this. And it's the one that's got the least coverage out of everything. Former counterterrorism director Joe Kent, and this is the man who has served this country, who has direct experience in intelligence operations. Joe Kent has stated publicly that he is willing to testify under oath. Think about that. Under oath, the federal officials actively blocked him from investigating a foreign intelligence nexus connected to Charlie Kirk's death. So think about that for a second. A counterterrorism expert willing to go on the record under oath said the Fed shut him down when he tried to investigate a possible foreign intelligence angle in Charlie Kirk's death. And he's talked about it. He's had these threads. He knew where it was coming from. And not that he had a conclusion, he just was stopped from looking even further. he was stopped in his tracks. And then you have Erika Kirk, the person with the most to gain from controlling that narrative, is the one running these secret unregistered campus meetings and deploying, in her words, counter programming assets. I don't know. Like I said, we all got to start connecting the dots. The dots are there. How do they connect? I don't know. But let me be clear about something. I'm not telling you what to believe. I'm just showing you the pieces. You decide how they add up, where the dots collide. I have no idea. But here's what we know for sure. The language counter program is straight from intelligence doctrine. Spoken naturally, unrehearsed. I'm sorry, but that's odd. And then you have the geography is not too far from Scottsdale, and she has those deep ties to Fort Huachuca. The nerve center, think about that. That is the place that US military intelligence go. That is the place. And then you have the board on TPUSA. Its own advisory board was directly tied to the architects of Mind War, a psychological operations manual. And on top of that, he was co-authored by a guy that started a satanic cult. It's crazy. Then we have the unmarked building at the Scottsdale airport, staging as, I don't know, this location. We have no answers to that. But that building, unmarked, close to the airport, that literally has all the hallmarks of an intelligent threat. And then you have Joe Kent, the blocked investigation, the counterterrorism director who says the feds stopped him from following a foreign intelligence thread connected to Charlie Kirk's death. And then you have the behavior. The behavior is all just bizarre. I'm sorry, but there's millions of people are talking about it. It's not like a few people are talking about it. I think there's so many people talking about it. There's something off. And to tell us that there's nothing off is like, it's just the gaslighting. It's the gaslighting. So I don't know, guys. Is this how assets are managed? I don't know. Is this how they're controlling the narrative? I don't know. In the American public, we're not an audience. Like we're not just watching this. This is operational. It's like the audience, we are the target because they're trying to control the narrative and they don't want our narrative to change. They don't want Candace Owens changing the narrative or anybody else changing the narrative. So we're part of this whole PSYOP thing, in my opinion. Don't know for sure, but it just seems like everybody's trying to control the narrative and nobody's on the Fed side is trying to get to the truth. So anyways, guys, hope this video made you think. Like I said, those words kind of stood out to me and I looked a little deeper and yeah, it means more than what's on the surface. No one says those things just off the cuff, in my opinion. So anyways, guys, please like, subscribe, share, hype. It means a lot. And give me your comments. Like I said, you don't have to believe me. It just seems there's a lot of dots they're out there and how they connect, who knows? But I don't think we still have to identify that those dots are out there. So like I said, please like, subscribe, hype, share, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.